Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be jumping into the world of real estate.
Oh, yeah.
And this should get pretty interesting.
Always interesting.
We're going to be looking at a homeowner in Baltimore who got a pretty big surprise almost 2 years after buying his dream home.
Sounds like a good one.
Yeah, so for this deep dive, our source material is a series of emails from August 2019.
Okay.
And they tell a pretty interesting story.
I'm intrigued.
So picture this. We're in Baltimore, Maryland, and Nicholas Miles bought a house at 901 N Port Street back in December 2017.
Yeah.
Everything seemed fine until almost 2 years later, Miles discovers a lien on his property.
That's not good.
Yeah, it's definitely not what you want to see after you've already settled into your new home.
Especially almost 2 years later. I mean, usually you'd expect something like that to come up before the purchase, right?
Right, exactly. That's what's so strange about this whole thing.
I'm starting to see why this is a deep dive already.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions here.
Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, was it an error? An oversight during the title search? Or was there something more intentional going on?
Lots of possibilities.
Well, before we get into the details of what happened, let's meet the key players in this real estate drama.
Okay, let's hear it.
First up, we've got Nicholas Miles, the homeowner who found this lien.
Right.
And I have to mention this. His emails end with, "Sent from the iPhone of a self-proclaimed genius."
Oh, wow. Okay. Confident are we?
We'll see if his genius helped him out in this situation, right?
Yeah, we'll see about that.
All right, so next we've got Residential Title and Escrow Company. They handled the closing on Miles's home.
Okay.
And get this, their email signature has this huge warning about wire fraud in big, bold letters.
Wow, really? Sounds like a sign of the times.
It really does, almost like they knew something fishy was going on.
Yeah, almost foreshadowing.
Now, this is where things get a little complicated. The lien was placed on Miles' property by HBC.
HEBCAC.
Yeah, it stands for Historic East Baltimore Community Action Coalition.
Oh, okay, got it.
And they weren't alone. There was another organization involved called Eager Street Development 28 LLC.
All right, and what were these groups doing, placing a lien on his house?
Well, it seems that HEBCAC and Eager Street Development got a loan from Healthy Planet LLC.
Yeah.
And Healthy Planet LLC is owned by a guy named Winstead Rouse. And guess what they used as collateral for this loan?
Oh, no. Don't tell me they use Miles' house.
You got it.
What? Seriously?
Yep. They used his house, and to make matters worse, they also used the house next door.
Oh, no. So his neighbor was dragged into this, too.
Exactly. The house next door belonged to a guy named Julian Smith.
Wow. So this wasn't just a problem for Miles. This could have had a ripple effect on the whole neighborhood.
Exactly. So let's get into these emails and see how this all went down.
Yeah, let's dive in.
So it all starts with an email from Miles to Residential Title.
Okay.
He's obviously concerned about this lien and wants some answers, which is understandable.
Of course.
But what's really interesting is he copies a bunch of people on this email.
Oh, really? Like who?
He includes Winstead Rouse, his neighbor Julian Smith,
Okay.
and then he even copies people from Johns Hopkins and a couple of reporters.
Whoa. So he's really trying to get this out in the open. Shine a light on this situation.
I think so. I mean, if I was in his shoes, I'd probably do the same thing. I'd want answers.
Yeah, I get it. Make some noise.
So how does Residential Title respond?
Well, thankfully, someone over there named Sherry Sauter gets back to him pretty quickly and assures Miles that she's already working on getting that lien released.
Okay, so that's good at least.
Yeah, someone's on it at least.
But it still doesn't explain how that lien ended up on his property in the first place.
They're very true.
So Miles replies to Sauter, and he thanks her for the quick response, but he also points out kind of the irony of the whole thing.
What do you mean?
Well, he points out that the lien is being released after his settlement date.
Right, after he already bought the house.
Exactly. You can almost hear the frustration in his email.
Oh, I bet. I mean, buying a home is a huge deal. It's probably the biggest purchase most people ever make.
Absolutely. And then to find out years later that it was used as collateral for someone else's loan, that's a nightmare.
Totally. It really makes you wonder how something like that could just slip through the cracks.
It really does. So what happened next? Did Sauter get the lien released?
She did. A couple weeks later, she sends Miles a copy of the recorded release confirming that the lien is officially gone.
Okay, so there's a resolution of sorts.
Yeah.
But we're still left with a lot of questions, like, how did this happen in the first place? And what can people do to protect themselves from something like this happening to them?
Those are great questions, and those are exactly the questions we're going to get into next. This whole lien situation really shows you just how many things can go wrong when you're buying real estate.
It really
Like a
does.
perfect example of why due diligence is so important.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. But I gotta be honest, I'm not sure I totally understand what due diligence even means. Like, what does that actually look like when you're buying a property?
Well, in real estate, due diligence basically means doing your homework
Okay.
before you commit to buying the property.
So, like, really investigating and making sure there aren't any problems.
Exactly. It's all about thoroughly investigating the property and making sure there aren't any hidden issues.
Like uncovering anything that could affect your ownership rights later on.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, what are some specific things people should be looking for when they're doing their due diligence? Like, what are some red flags?
Well, one of the most important things is to get a title search.
A title search.
Yeah, it's basically like a background check for the property.
Okay.
It examines the entire history of the property's ownership and looks for any encumbrances.
Encumbrances, that's a big word. What does that even mean?
Basically, it just means claims or liabilities that are attached to the property.
So, like, things like liens.
Exactly. Liens are actually one of the most common types of encumbrances that you'll find in a title search.
And they can be put on a property for all sorts of reasons, right?
Right.
Like unpaid debts, taxes, even just like contractor work.
All of that.
And that makes sense. If you don't discover a lien before you buy a property, it can become a huge problem,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
just like what happened with Miles.
Exactly. It can actually cloud the title to the property.
What does that mean, cloud the title?
Well, it means that there's some kind of problem or question about who actually owns the property.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
No, it's not good.
What kind of problems can that cause?
Well, for one, it can make it really hard to sell the property in the future.
Oh, I see, because nobody wants to buy a house with a questionable title.
Right, exactly. And it can also make it difficult to refinance.
Okay, so basically a huge headache that you definitely want to avoid.
Definitely.
So, how can people protect themselves from these kinds of title issues?
Well, you can't completely eliminate every single risk,
Right.
but there are things you can do to minimize them.
Okay.
For starters, like we said before, get a title search.
Okay.
It's essential.
So important.
And it's also a really good idea to invest in title insurance.
Okay, so I've heard of title insurance, but to be honest, I don't really know how it works.
Yeah,
Can you tell me more about that?
sure. Title insurance is basically an insurance policy that protects you from financial losses that are due to title defects.
Okay.
So that could be things like undisclosed liens or other ownership disputes.
Gotcha.
So if a covered title issue comes up after you purchase the property, title insurance can help pay for legal defense and any other claims.
So it's like a safety net for your property.
Yeah, exactly. It's a way to protect yourself from unexpected surprises.
Even if something gets missed during the title search.
Right, and it's kind of like car insurance. You wouldn't buy a car without insurance.
Right.
And buying a home is even more expensive.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it makes sense to have some kind of protection.
Definitely makes you feel more secure knowing that you're covered if
No.
anything goes wrong.
Yeah, that peace of mind is valuable.
So going back to Miles's case, we talked about how the lien could have been placed on his property because of some error during the title search.
Hmm?
How often do things like that actually happen?
Well, title companies do their best to be thorough, but mistakes can happen.
Right.
Sometimes the lien might not be properly recorded in the public records.
Okay.
Or there could be a mistake in the way that the title search was conducted.
I see.
And sometimes human error is just a factor. And even with all the technology we have, things can slip through the cracks.
That's kind of scary, honestly.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
So even if you hire professionals, there's still a chance that something could get missed.
Unfortunately, yes. That's why title insurance is so important.
Right, it's like a backup plan.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about liens, but how do they actually work?
Well, a lien is a legal claim against a property.
Okay.
It's usually used as security for a debt.
Okay.
So think of it like a sticky note on the property's title that says, "Warning, potential problem here."
I like that, the sticky note analogy. So if someone owes money, a creditor can put a lien on their property.
Exactly, to make sure they get paid back.
Oh, okay, I see.
So it gives the creditor the right to potentially seize and sell the property if the debt isn't settled.
And that can happen even if the owner doesn't even know about it.
Exactly. That's why those title searches and title insurance are so important.
Wow, so it's like someone can have control over your property without you even realizing it?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
It sounds like buying a house can be a real legal minefield.
Well, it can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay, good. Because that sounds pretty overwhelming.
The key is to be informed and prepared.
Right, which is what we're trying to do here.
Exactly. We're giving you the knowledge and tools so you can navigate all the complexities and avoid any potential pitfalls.
Exactly. We want everyone to feel confident and empowered to make smart decisions when they buy a house.
That's the goal.
So before we move on, I wanted to talk about Miles's neighbor, Julian Smith, for a second. His property was also affected by this lien.
Right.
And that really shows you how far-reaching these situations can be.
Absolutely. It reminds us that these things aren't isolated incidents.
Hmm.
They can have a real impact on entire communities.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And that's why it's so important for everybody involved in a real estate transaction to be careful and transparent.
That's a great point. So what's the biggest takeaway for our listeners here? What can they learn from all of this?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that knowledge is power, especially when it comes to buying a home.
Absolutely.
Don't just accept things at face value, Ask questions.
Mm.
Do your research.
Mm-hmm.
Understand the risks that are involved.
And you don't have to go through this alone, right?
Hmm.
You can get help from professionals.
Exactly. Work with
Right.
people you trust, like real estate agents, lawyers, and title companies.
And you can ask them all the questions you need.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
It's better to ask too many questions than not enough.
Couldn't agree more. So you're thinking about buying a place.
Yeah, maybe someday.
Well, before you sign on the dotted line, I want to leave you with some advice.
All right, lay it on me.
First things first, work with people you trust.
Okay.
Find a real estate agent, a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
a title company.
Okay.
Make sure they have a good reputation.
So don't just go with the cheapest option or the first one that pops up on Google.
Exactly. Do your research. Find people who really know their stuff.
Okay, got it.
And here's another thing. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Mm,
If something seems unclear or just doesn't feel right,
right.
speak up.
Always better to ask too many questions than not enough.
I always say that.
Good advice.
And this might seem obvious, but read everything carefully before you sign.
Okay.
Don't just skim through pages of legal jargon,
Yeah, no, I get it.
Take your time, understand what you're agreeing to.
That's where having a good lawyer really helps, right?
Exactly. They can help you understand all those complicated documents and make sure you're protected.
Okay, that makes sense.
One last thing. Think about getting title insurance,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's not required where you live.
Okay.
It's an extra layer of protection,
Right, and it seems like a small price to pay for the peace of mind.
Exactly. You want to avoid those potential headaches down the road.
Definitely.
So the bottom line is, be informed, be proactive.
Okay.
That's the best way to avoid these kinds of situations.
I like it. Knowledge is power.
There you go.
Well, I think we've covered a lot today.
We have.
We've talked about title searches, title insurance,
Hmm.
and those tricky undisclosed lien.
And we learned a lot from Nicholas Miles' experience in Baltimore, right?
Absolutely. And we also saw how something that seems like a simple real estate transaction can turn into a really complex situation.
Yeah, and it can even affect the whole neighborhood.
Exactly. But most importantly, we've given our listeners the information they need to approach buying a property with confidence.
Knowing what to look out for, how to protect themselves.
Exactly. Remember, buying a home is a big decision, but with the right preparation, it can be such an amazing experience.
It really can be.
So don't let the stories scare you away from your dream home.
Yeah, exactly.
Just do your research, protect yourself, and enjoy the process.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, that's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, stay curious and stay informed.